everyone out there in social media land. I'm Ken Schaefer, and I'm here to discuss all things related to men's sexual health. I've been doing a series called The ABCs of Men's Sexual Health. Each week, I do a different letter, starting with A, and I'm up to O. So that's what I'm covering tonight, the O and the ABCs of men's sexual health. All right. So I think this is going to be a short one. The O word is orgasm. Everyone likes orgasms, right? How often should you allow yourself to have an orgasm? Well, that's a good question. But let me start by saying that orgasm and ejaculation, although most men experience them together, it is possible with training to experience them separately. It is possible to ejaculate without an orgasm, and it is possible to have an orgasm without ejaculation. In tantric teachings, they can train men to separate these two things. When I say how often should you orgasm, for most men that means orgasm with ejaculation. And that's an important point because according to many resources, Taoist resources, my mentor, Master Lauren Johnson, my teacher, Dr. Rachel Ross, they all feel that you should limit your ejaculations, and that amount depends on your age. Master Lauren Johnson uses a formula. Basically, you divide your age by 5, okay? And then that's how many days you should wait between allowing yourself to ejaculate. So I'm 60, and if I divide 60 by 5, that's 12. So according to that formula, I should wait 12 days between ejaculations. First of all, I believe that any calculation like that is a rule of thumb, that there are some people who can, without any problems, ejaculate more often, and there are others who need to wait longer. It's a rule of thumb. And as a physical trainer, I've always believed that it was important to listen to your body. When I'm training a runner, they want a specific schedule for how they should train. How many miles should I run today? How much should I rest? And then how many miles should I run the next time? However, it's different for everybody. Whether you're training for physically for something like a marathon or whether you're talking about how often you should orgasm. So, in the case of a runner, I can tell them if you don't feel like you're running well, you probably haven't recovered and you need more rest. If you go out and you feel well rested and you're running very well, then you don't need more rest. I would say something similar to people asking me, how often should I allow myself to ejaculate? Like most men, when I was younger, I could do it very often and there were no side effects. I can't do it as often now. I'm 60 years old. But I do not feel that I need to wait 12 days between ejaculations. Maybe I'm an exception. I don't think so. I think it's really a very individual process. What does the science say? Well, unfortunately, this is not something that has been studied scientifically, not that I'm aware of. I think that would be something very difficult to study scientifically. And having been involved in the scientific process and knowing how scientists work, and then knowing how the information gets watered down at each step from the time the scientists are discussing it to the time they're summarizing it to the time that the news media is reporting on it, and then to the time it reaches you through whatever media source you're reading it from. It gets watered down and the nuances get lost. So studying this is something where I think it would require a lot of nuance, and I'm afraid that if scientists did try to study this, we would end up with an overly simplistic rule like, take your age, divide by 5, add 10, and then subtract 3, whatever. It doesn't matter. All right. So this is something that is widely taught. It is based on practices that go back thousands, maybe tens of thousands of years. It's based on the personal experiences of generations of men. Just because it hasn't been established scientifically, I don't believe that's reason to ignore it. In the pre scientific world, knowledge was accumulated over generations, and there wasn't a formal experimental process, but through trial and error over many generations, many practices came out of those experiences. Take it however you want it. I think it's common knowledge that older men can't perform as often as younger men. And I think it's also common knowledge that there's a lot of variation out there in how well men can perform and how often. Okay, so there's actually another word for this. You can call it semen retention. And it's basically the practice of not allowing yourself to orgasm too often. And there is evidence that if you're having problems with erectile dysfunction, limiting the number of orgasms you have can make it easier to get an erection. There is evidence that it has some positive psychological effects. I believe it has positive effects on your dopamine system. And I've talked about this before. If you're always tapping into your dopamine, eventually you need more and more dopamine to get as excited. By limiting the number of orgasms you have, the number of ejaculations you have, you're helping your dopamine system to reset so that you can get excited sexually much more easily. So it's all tied together. There's the dopamine system and the psychology around semen retention, and then there's the physiology of it. The reason why my mentors have told me that men need to wait between ejaculations is that it takes the body time to recover and gather back the resources needed for the next ejaculation. And I think that makes some sense. So as you get older, you will probably find that if you ejaculate one day and then don't wait enough time between that day and your next ejaculation, what's going to happen is you're going to have a smaller ejaculation and you will probably not have as strong of an orgasm. Obviously, younger men can replenish their resources more easily. What can I say? Aging sucks. Most men are not going to be able to perform like they did as a kid. Your body gets older and it doesn't work as well. All right, so let me kind of recap. This kind of went in places where I didn't intend it to go. So, the word of the day is orgasm. And how often should you orgasm? According to Tantric and Taoist teachings, you should do something like divide your age by 5, and whatever that number is, that's how many days you should wait. I believe that that's just a rule of thumb, that there's a lot of variation from man to man. And the reason behind this waiting for so many days is that your body needs time to recover. So this may not be what a lot of guys want to hear, but this is reality. Most guys want to hear that orgasm as much as you want, ejaculate as much as you want, it's all fine. Yeah, sorry. When you're 20 years old, that may be true. When you're 60 years old like me, not as true. So until the next video, thank you for watching, and goodbye.